Hello and welcome back to the Two Pennies channel. My name is Jim Reed, and if you watched the last video from last week, I had a chance to recount everything that Two Pennies has done over the last 9 years in Ghana, West Africa. I loved making that video and being able to kind of reminisce over the last 9 years and look at the videos and the pictures that we've been able to take while we're working with our co-workers in Ghana. Today though, I wanted to talk about where we're going in 2020 and beyond, and how on earth we got into the business of starting a cassava mill and a farming co-op in West Africa. It's a story that kind of takes some explaining, and so to be able to do that, I wanted to enjoy the nice weather that we're having outside, and so I'm just going to walk down to a local farm that we've got right around the corner, and I'm just going to do the filming there because it seems a lot more appropriate. So let's go ahead and do that. One of the most striking moments that I've had in my time in Africa was a morning that we had in Akim Kwameng in 2019. As we were sitting having breakfast, there was a knock on the door. And when Edward went and answered the door, it was two gentlemen in the mid-30s who were asking where Edward's brother was, because they were going out to his field to help him weed, or to do the weeding in the cassava field that he owned. When Edward told them his brother wasn't in for the moment, they said they would wait until he came back so that he could pay them for the day's labor. And Edward suggested, well, why don't you go out and work the day and then come back and my brother will pay you. Their response has really stuck with me since I heard them reply, and that was that they needed to get paid before they worked because their families needed food. They didn't have any food in the house, and to get their families, their children that they had, and their wives some food, they needed to be paid in advance so they could take that money back to their families, and their families could go buy some food at a local market to feed themselves for the day. He asked them how much he owed them for the day. The men replied it was 30 cities, 30 Ghanaian cities. Now, one Ghanaian city is about $5 US. So if you do the math, for two grown men, full-time work, a full day of work weeding a field, which is in the hot sunlight, just about impossible work, they were going to be paid a total of $6. And if you split that in half, that's $3 a day. These men were going to work an entire day weeding an entire field for $3. As we toured the village, and as we had a chance later to just talk with the people in Akim Kwameng, we found out that that rate of $3 a day was over double what the average person would make in a single day in Akim Kwameng. We tried to find out where was it that the people of Akim Kwameng actually earned their money. How did they actually make the money? And for the vast majority of people in this small farming community, they earned their money on the annual cocoa harvest. And the annual cocoa harvest would bring in a family about 2,500 Ghanaian cedis. And 2,500 Ghanaian cedis, as you're doing the math along with me, is about $500. About $500 for the entire year is what they would have to go on. And they would take that money, they would set that aside for emergencies and for daily food or for whatever else they needed. The other way they survived was daily sustenance farming. As we started talking with the people in the village and asking them what would they like to see change in Akim Kwameng, we were met with one answer that was repeated over and over again, that they would love to see jobs come to their town.
Or there's not too much money that you can use to farm. So you cannot farm big because you are using your strength. So even though you have a land that you can plant more, the seedings you have to buy with money. And also the weeding you have to use your strength. So it will limit you in a way that maybe you have 1 acre, you can only farm half acre. But suppose you have money, you can buy more seed, you can also hire more people to wait for you.
As we continued our conversations, the thing that came up was that they knew farming. They knew how to farm. They didn't have access to markets. There was no way that they could ship their excess goods out. Not many people came into this small village, and in the village there were a total of 3 cars. There was no way to be able to transport any kind of large goods out. Upon continued discussions, it came up that the most common good that everyone eats is cassava, which is a root vegetable that's grown throughout Africa. It can grow in a variety of soils, and there are a variety of types that can withstand drought better, or that can handle more rains, or that's harvested more frequently. The kind that's grown mostly in Akim Kwameng is a 6-month variety. In other words, you plant it, and 6 months later you come back and harvest it and plant a new crop. Most people lived on this food, but to be able to sell it, there was no market to be able to sell that. So our discussions with them took on kind of a new tone. What would happen if we were able to find a market for them? And suddenly, Edward, our Ghanaian representative, really came up with the idea that we have been pursuing since then. And that is, well, how about if we had a cassava mill? In other words, a place that we could process their cassava and make it into gari. Gari is a form of cassava that has been ground and pressed and fermented for 3 days, and then toasted to a final form that can be stored for months and sold at market. It's easier to transport and brings in a value of 4 to 5 times the amount of raw cassava. It's a labor-intensive process, and without machines, it's a very difficult process to do. A family might be able to do it for themselves every single day, but to go through that process and have enough to sell is a real challenge. And so that's where Two Pennies has stepped in. Two Pennies has stepped in and decided that what we would do is, working together with the people of Akim Kwameng, we would build a cassava mill. And what that means is it's going to give people an immediate and local source of a place they can sell their cassava. They can sell their raw good. We also are supplying loans to the people of Akim Kwameng to clear their land and to purchase cassava sticks for planting. We are really excited for a number of reasons. Number one, it was their own idea. This was an idea that came up with discussion with farmers and with the tribal leaders and with our representatives there, along with representatives of Two Pennies. We're excited because it has a sustainable future. No matter if Two Pennies is there or not, if they have this mill, they can continue along in this direction. And number three, it's going to affect the entire community. It doesn't just affect people who are working at the mill and people who are farming. They will have money to spend, which means that the entire economy will get a boost from this. So we are really excited about where this can go. And this all started in a conversation with 2 men who were coming looking to get paid for the day at a rate of $3. All right, so it got a little bit hot out there. That's one of the most exciting things for me, is that the decisions that we've made with Two Pennies and the directions that we're going aren't our ideas. They aren't things that we came up with. They're ideas that we sit down with people that we know in Ghana, and we talk through what's the best approach that we can have in order to help them and carry out God's mission in the world to spread His love to all people. And so this decision to step forward making this cassava mill was not an easy one to make, and we are grateful for First Baptist Church. They have fully funded the proof of concept, and we are taking off with that. In the next video that I create, I'll show you exactly where we're at with the cassava mill. So next week, when you come back for an update, I will show you how we're back at work in Ghana, West Africa, and I'll give you some pictures and some video that Edward has shared with us. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next Friday.